Welcome in to another new AMP podcast. I'm your host, Ben Dubose, and I'm the news editor with the AMP publications team. AMP, of course, is the shorthand acronym for the Association for Materials Protection and Performance, which earlier this year turned 5 years old. Obviously, the two legacy associations go back much further than that, but here at AMP, we are officially 5. And as part of that 5th anniversary, we have our ongoing Then and Now Thought Leadership Series, which we've been doing with interviews throughout the year. The idea in these conversations is to dive into both the challenges as well as the opportunities that are shaping the future of materials protection. Today, we're focusing on asset integrity, particularly within pipeline and energy infrastructure systems. Around the world, operators these days are facing aging assets, increasing regulatory scrutiny, workforce challenges, and evolving risk environments. Yet with all of that, the expectation remains the same, for operations to be safe, reliable, and efficient. Our guests today bring perspectives from pipeline integrity, cathodic protection, corrosion mitigation, inspection, and asset management across multiple regions of the world. I want to start by having each of you introduce yourselves, tell us your full name and title, your employer, where you are in the world, and just broadly speaking, what your day-to-day job consists of. Carlos, we can start with you.
Thank you, Ben, and hello, everyone, and thank you for the invitation. My name is Carlos Roberto Cordova. I am a mechanical and asset integrity engineer here in Peru, in Double N Contractors. My professional experience includes pressure vessel and pipeline integrity, corrosion management, risk-based inspection, and national regulatory compliance based on international standards. It is a privilege to participate in this leadership series. I look forward to sharing my perspective on how innovation, integrity management, and collaboration can help to extend asset life.
And Juan Pablo, same to you.
Yes. Hey Ben. Hey all. My name is Juan Pablo Borges Rico. I'm from Colombia, but I'm living in Mexico in this moment. My formation is the metallurgy engineer in Colombia and corrosion engineer here in Mexico. In this moment, I study my PhD in engineering science here in Mexico, and my experience is that the protection corrosion. Yes, so pipeline external corrosion and internal corrosion for pipeline, and all for my experience for I'm 31 years old, and the more important for me that the industry is that for me human capitalist.
Wajahat, over to you.
Thank you, Ben, for inviting me, on this platform and give me the opportunity to speak. So I am Syed Wajahat Hussain. I'm basically working on a gas company in Western Australia. The name of the company is Atco Gas, and I'm working as a senior pipeline integrity engineer. So my day-to-day job is to look after, all the pipeline asset, steel asset particularly, and look after their, the corrosion protection, pipeline integrity, fitness purpose, and services as well. Yeah.
So our opening segment, I want to talk about defining today's integrity challenges out in the field. And I think a lot of this comes down to messaging, because when something goes wrong with a pipeline, the public sees the failure. What they don't see are the thousands of decisions that were made every day to try and prevent it. And that's where asset integrity comes in. So for all of you, when you hear the term asset integrity, what does it actually mean in your day-to-day work? Carlos, we can begin with you.
To me, asset integrity, it's about making the right decisions every day. It's to ensure that an asset continues operating safely, reliably, and is intended through its entire service life. For example, activities like monitoring corrosion, evaluating inspection data, assessing risks, verifying compliance with national regulations and industry standards, and deciding when to inspect, when to repair, or when to replace an asset. In my day-to-day work, asset integrity means turning data into informed decisions. It is not just about finding defects. It's about understanding which defects matter, predicting how they will change over time, and taking action before they become a threat to people environment, and also business continuity. For example, success in asset integrity is a consistent and reliable performance without unexpected failures in operations. For example, when a pipeline operates safely year after year, that's the result of disciplined, systematic, and proactive integrity management process. And also, I consider the most important element is the commitment of many professionals working together. At the end of the day, I just say that it is not just good luck.
Juan Pablo, the same question to you. How do you define asset integrity from the perspective of your day-to-day job? What does that mean to you?
All right, asset integrity from my work and job for today is principal in cathodic protection. So I understand asset integrity for me in my job is every day protection of pipeline, principal external corrosion about the soil, and for example in the soil we have more of ions, and that ions affect the pipeline. So asset integrity is principal protect that pipeline about your integrity. So it's very important, and we have cathodic protection for that. And day to day is very important to protect that pipeline.
Wajahat, over to you.
To me, asset integrity means knowing the condition of the assets, understanding the key threats, and making the right risk-based decisions. You have to take the decision before that threat become a failure. And in day-to-day work, it is discipline of combining data, engineering judgment based on the field pipeline data, and proactive maintenance to keep the pipeline safe. And because we are basically more customer-oriented company, so our goal is to keep the customer happy. So if we don't work on the background, so it means we cannot keep the customer happy. So we are basically working in the background, keeping our pipeline safe and all the infrastructure safe so that we can keep our customer happy.
Undoubtedly, there are a number of things that keep integrity engineers awake at night. Wajahat, if you had to identify one integrity threat that you think deserves more attention that it's getting right now, what would it be?
For me, I am basically working on, in the corrosion field like almost more than 16 years now. So what I have identified, there is a one threat to the pipeline integrity, which is the AC corrosion, and I have seen so it's still a mystery, but it's basically silently corroding your pipelines or your assets, but people are still working on that risk. So for me, I think this is the thing that keep me awake at night. So AC corrosion is basically a silent threat to the pipeline integrity, and for that one you need to be very, very careful regarding the data you are getting from the field, especially the remote monitoring data where you are basically sharing your asset in a same corridor where the other power lines are running. So you have to be very very careful and critically analyze the data regarding that threat. So if you see that threat happening on your pipeline, so you have to immediately take some necessary actions and for the remediation of that threat. So for me, if you ask me again, like what is the thing that keep me awake at night, which is AC corrosion for me.
Juan Pablo, in your role, you spend a lot of time collecting and interpreting field data. What's the biggest disconnect between what the data actually says and what organizations believe?
For that, I think the biggest disconnect is that many organizations still confuse having data with actually having knowledge. Today, our industry collects an incredible amount of information, and we have cathodic protection surveys, SIPs, DCBG, inline inspection, rectifier monitoring, corrosion measures, AC interference data, and many other inspection technology. The problem is the data sets often exist in isolation. When you are in the field, the data frequently tells a very different story from what people inside the organization believe. It's common to hear statements like the pipeline has never had any issues or that system has always performed well. But once you start integrating historical data and look at longer term trends, you begin to identify early signs for deterioration. Areas where cathodic protection effective is declining, current degradation is progressing, or AC interference is increasing because of nerve power infrastructure. So the issue isn't a lack of information, and the issue is that many decisions are still driven by experience, assumption, or isolation observation is sign of integrated evidence. For example, another challenge is that organizations often focus on individual inspection results instead of understand the overall behavior of the asset. For example, a pipe to soil potential outside the protection criteria isn't the actual problem, isn't actually a assumption of a process that may have started months or every year early. That is I believe we need to move away from a compliance mindset and toward an engineering mindset. Inspection should not perform simply because regulation requires them. They should be performed to understand how to asset is evolving over time and support better engineering decisions. At the end of the day, the data should do much more than field reports. It should help organizations prioritize investment, optimize maintenance, reduce risks, and ultimately extend the service life of critical infrastructure.
One reality in asset integrity is that decisions rarely come with perfect information. You can have incomplete inspection data, operating conditions may change, resources are often limited, yet decisions still have to be made. I spoke earlier about the challenges with messaging. A few minutes ago, we were talking about as it relates to the general public, but I also think messaging is important inside organizations. Carlos, as someone responsible for both technical execution and also coordination between stakeholders, how do you communicate uncertainty to those key decision makers who may want definitive answers?
I consider that's an excellent question because decision makers don't expect us to eliminate uncertainty. They expect us to manage it. My role as integrity engineer is to translate technical uncertainty into business risk. I mean, instead of saying we don't know, we explain 4 key elements of engineering decision making. For example, one element is what we know. The second one is what we don't know. The third is how confident we are in this available data. And fourth, the final one is what the potential consequences could be. In my work, I also provide practical options. For example, we can continue operating a pressure vessel or a pipeline with increased monitoring, perform additional inspections, implement mitigation measures, or schedule a repair. But for each option, I explain 3 important elements: risks, costs, and benefits. All this together allows decision makers to make informed decisions based on risk, rather than relying on complete information. Finally, I can say that effective communications is not about providing perfect answers. It's about providing transparent information, a clear understanding of the uncertainty, and finally, recommending a practical engineering solution.
Wajahat, a lot of your work involves risk-based decision-making and fitness-for-purpose assessments. How do you determine when you've got enough information to justify intervening as opposed to just continued monitoring?
For me, it's basically, I usually, split the information in two categories. So the first category is, the must-have information, and the second category is, nice to have information. So if I have that information, then I'm fine. So this is the first thing that I usually do. So like must have information, if you are basically taking integrity or risk-based decision of your asset. So must have information, like I would like to quote like two examples, like, your CP historical data of your pipeline, and also, the operating pressure of the pipeline, because we are dealing with the integrity plus the corrosion issues as well. So these two, these two type of data are really, really essential. And I would like to have this data. Definitely, I cannot take an decision on the basis without, this data. So, but like some other information, like, so what has, the happened to the pipeline 40 years ago, or, what are the hydro test results when the pipeline was constructed. So this data is nice to have, but, it will not really impact, the decision of the pipeline integrity if I need to take the decision, on the pipeline integrity at now. So, and also the second thing is basically how critical is the asset is, like, so if like, let's suppose 100,000 customers are depending on one pipeline asset, and I need to take a decision and I don't have some data. So I would like to have all the data and every data will become essential for me.
All right, let's wind down the podcast by looking ahead. We talked about the present. Now let's look to the future, because asset integrity is evolving quickly. Changes are often driven by technology, changes in infrastructure demands, challenges to workforce development, and the increasing expectations around this issue of reliability. Carlos, I'll start with you. When we look to the next few years, what are some of the changes that you see coming to this field, and specifically the areas within your scope?
Okay, I believe the greatest opportunity moving from data collection to data intelligence. Today we have access to more inspection technologies than ever before. For example, inline inspection, corrosion monitoring, cathodic protection service, and all those emerging technologies, for example. The challenge is no longer collecting data, it's transforming data into a complete and reliable understanding of these asset conditions. For example, in the next 5 years, I believe the organizations will lead in asset integrity won't be maybe the ones with the most technology. They will be the ones that make the best decisions with the information they have. I mean, the ones that turns data into a sound engineering decisions. Over the next 5 years, industry leaders will need to embrace an integrated approach, bringing together many elements like high quality data, advanced inspection technologies, risk-based methodologies, and experience in engineering judgment. All of this, and for what? All of these elements is for creating more effective integrity management programs, for example. They will move from reactive maintenance to predictive maintenance. I consider that the organizations that struggle will continue to work in silos because they just treating inspection, corrosion, and operations other ones as separate activities instead of treating them as part of one integrated asset integrity program. If I could recommend one action for asset owners today, it would be to build a culture of integrated asset integrity. Culture is very important because it influences every decision people make. Technology processes are important, but culture is what ensures they are applied consistently and effectively. That means connecting people, processes, technology, and that data, so that every integrity decision is based on collaboration, reliable information, and a clear understanding of risk.
Juan Pablo, as someone that actively works with many of these inspection technologies and diagnostics, where do you see the greatest opportunities for improvement when it comes to data collection and condition assessments. What can we do better over the next 5 years or so?
For the next 5 years, 5 years from now, I don't think the biggest difference will be technology, because the most organization will have access to advanced sensor, remote monitoring, artificial intelligence, digital platforms, and increasingly sophisticated inspection tools. The organization that truly lead will be the ones that know how to transform all that information into better decisions. Asset integrity is become less about collecting data and more about understanding asset behavior. The companies that continue operating in select disciplines where cathodic protection, inspection, operation, and maintenance work independently will struggle to manage incredibly complex infrastructure. One the On the other hand, organizations that integrate engineering disciplines, share information across teams, and make decisions based on a complete understanding of asset performance will be much more successful. I also believe we will see a significant transformation for time-based maintenance to work condition-based and risk-based asset management. Instead of asking when is the next inspection due, we will increasingly ask what is the actual condition of these assets and what is the level of risk if we deal termination. If I could recommend just one change that asset owners should make today, it will be to build a strong data driving culture. That means standardizing how inspection data is collected, improving data quality, integrating information from different inspection technologies, and the more importantly, developing engineers how to interpret that information and turn it into sound engineering decision. Technologies will continue evolving rapidly, but technologies alone won't improve asset integrity. The real competitive advance will come from organizations that can transform data in knowledge into decisions, and decisions into safer, more reliably, and more sustainably infrastructure.
Wajahat, kicking this over to you, what are some of the changes that you see on the horizon over the next few years?
For me, the industry leaders, in the future will be who are basically, working on their data digitization, because without the data, you cannot take any decision. So you cannot, draw any risk metrics. So I think the data digitization is very, very important. So you can see, how the world is changing. So, the AI is basically, progressing a lot, and it's basically a very essential tool, in the office environment at the moment, and people are using it as a, the tool. So, but AI is basically, is just a tool which assists you or help you in basically interpreting the data or analyzing the data. But if you don't have, the correct data, or the data you are unable to validate it, so if you feed any, the unvalidated data, or, I will say the raw data, not a refined data, to any of the tool, I'm not talking focus on only on the AI, on any other software or any other, the tool. So you will get, the same results. So if you feel garbage, you will get, the same, the output. So if you are putting in like the fine data, you are putting in, the data that you have already validated, and then you will get, the correct and actual results, and on the basis of that one, you will take the decision, and it will not, affect the pipeline integrity based on your decision. So the fate of your pipeline integrity is depending upon, the how much data you have, and how precise and correct the data is, and how you are basically validating your data. So for me, I think the data digitization And the data validation is very, very important.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for the time. And with that, I think we're done with today's Asset Integrity Show. I want to thank our guest again for taking part, as well as all of you out there watching and listening. And if you want more resources from us here at AMP before our next episode, just search for AMP at your podcast home or social media outlet of choice, or simply go to amp.org, where we've got a special page that's being continually updated with all of our 5th anniversary content.